All right, today we're diving into something really fascinating coming out of Google. It's an experiment they're calling anti-gravity. And based on what we're seeing, this isn't just another coding tool. It's a completely different way to think about software engineering.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Great. Another AI coding assistant. It feels like every single week there's a new tool with a flashy name, but it's always the same promises, right? Faster code, quick bug fixes, build a whole app with one prompt. It gets old. But I'm telling you, stick with me on this because this one actually feels different.
So here's our plan. First, we're going to talk about why the current tools feel like they've kind of hit a wall. Then, we'll unpack what makes anti-gravity's core idea so different. We'll look at how its multi-agent system is built, dive into its three-layer architecture, and then wrap it all up by asking the big one, is this what the future of our jobs looks like? Let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get why anti-gravity is a big deal, we have to start with the problem. And pretty much every AI assistant out there today, from the simplest to the most advanced, has this one fundamental limitation. It thinks in a straight line.
You know how it is. You give it a command, it thinks for a bit, spits out this massive block of code, and then it just stops. It just sits there, waiting for your next instruction. And look, that's super helpful for certain things. But let's be honest, that's not really engineering. That's just executing a task. This visual really nails the difference. The old way is a straight path. It's linear, one step at a time, A to B to C. Anti-gravity, though, is like having a whole team that attacks the problem from all sides at the same time. This idea of working in parallel, that's the absolute key. And that is exactly where Google's anti-gravity comes into play. It's being pitched as the solution, a fundamental shift away from being a simple coding assistant to becoming what's being called an Agentic IDE.
So what on earth is an Agentic IDE? Well, think of it this way. It's an environment where you don't just have one AI helper. You have multiple autonomous AI agents that are all working together, collaborating, to actually engineer a full solution, not just vomit out some code.
This quote from the analysis just perfectly sums it up. It's not about commanding a tool anymore. It's about managing a team. A small, efficient engineering team that lives and breathes right inside your editor. That's the core idea to hold on to.
So how does it actually do this? How does it break that old one-track mind model? Well, the answer is right there in its architecture. It's one editor, but it's powered by many, many agents.
Just imagine this. You ask it to build a new feature. Instead of one AI doing everything step by step, you could have one agent over here refactoring some old code to make room. At the exact same time, another agent is writing the unit tests for the new feature, and a third is actually building the UI component. They're all working at once. That parallel processing is the real game changer.
Okay, so having a whole team of AI agents running around sounds, well, it sounds chaotic, right? But the whole thing is managed through this surprisingly clean and elegant three-layer system. Let's break down how that architecture actually works.
The entire system is built on these three layers of control. You've got the agent manager at the top, which is like your high-level strategic view. In the middle, you have the editor, which is where all the hands-on coding work happens. And then at the bottom, you have browser control, which lets the agents actually test their own work in the real world.
First up, the agent manager. Honestly, the best way to think about this is like mission control for your project. It's a dashboard. You can see every single agent, what task it's on, check its progress, and you can even see its thought process. You can pause one agent, tell another its task is now top priority, or kick off a whole new mission, just like a real team lead. Next up is the editor itself. Now, this might look like your normal VS Code or whatever you use, but here's the crucial difference. The agents are living inside your code base. When you ask for a change, they don't just pop up a suggestion in a little chat window. No, they are actively opening files, they are modifying functions, they are working across the entire project directly. And now, for what might be the most powerful layer of all, browser control. The agent can literally spin up a real instance of a web browser, go to your application, click on buttons, fill out forms, and test an entire user journey from start to finish. This means instead of you having to write a long prompt explaining the login flow, you can just say, go test the login flow, and it just does it. And what's really cool is the system lets you decide how much control you want. You can let the agents run with a ton of autonomy, where they only stop to ask for your approval at really critical decision points. This completely changes your role. You stop being the person who micromanages every little step, and you become the person who sets the overall strategy. Now, for the secret sauce.
What makes this AI team so good at its job? Well, it's because it's not just one giant, all-powerful AI model doing everything. It's actually a whole stack of different models, and each one is a specialist.
Think about it like a human team. You've got your front-end specialist who's amazing with UI and components, and your back-end guru who lives and breathes system architecture. It's the same idea here. You might have an agent powered by Gemini handling the UI work, while another agent, maybe running on a powerful model like Claude, is figuring out the complex back-end logic.
And this is a huge deal. Having the ability to use multiple best-in-class models for whatever they're best at, all inside one environment, and, this is the kicker, without you having to pay for a bunch of different API keys, that is almost unheard of right now. So when you pull all of this together, what does a tool like this actually mean for the job of being a software engineer? It really does point to a profound new way of working.
And this brings us to the biggest takeaway of all. The developer's role itself starts to shift. You're no longer the person who has to write every single line of code. Instead, you become the high-level architect, the strategic manager who directs this incredibly fast and efficient team of AI agents to go and execute your vision.
Which leaves us with one last pretty big question to think about. If your IDE, your integrated development environment, is no longer just a tool, but an entire engineering team, what does that make the engineer?